Part 1. I signed the contract at 2:13 a.m., with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. They told me not to worry about the blood clause, it was symbolic. But I'd been a Marine long enough to know the difference between ceremony and control. When you write your name in blood, you stop being a man. You become property. The recruiter's badge read Ether Dynamics Special Access. Behind his glasses, his eyes looked dead, like something taxidermied to perfection. He didn't tell me where we were going. Only that no one would remember me if I said no. They flew me in on a Black Hawk with no insignia, windows blacked out. When we landed, the heat hit me first, then the smell. Sulfur and metal. Yellowstone had always been a postcard to me, wild, cinematic, eternal. But under the lights of the Project Ladder base, it looked like a surgery wound that never healed. Concrete domes burrowed into the caldera. The air vibrated with turbine hums, the kind that made your teeth ache. Every door was coded, every camera tracked your breath. The walls leaked condensation, but someone had written on one in marker. If you stare long enough, the mountain stares back. I was issued a grey uniform and a radiation badge that never stopped blinking. They didn't tell me what ladder stood for. Someone joked it meant let another die doing energy research. No one laughed. The first time I saw Captain Jonathan Hawk Whitaker, he was standing in the operations dome, staring at a live satellite feed of the caldera. He didn't look like a man. He looked like a weapon that hadn't been turned off. Square jaw, grey buzzcut, veins like cables. He was legendary among Black Ops ghosts. Rumor said he once spent 7 days inside a reactor to retrieve classified data. He spoke without turning around. "You Harper. Marine Recon, dishonorably discharged, 2019. PTSD, substance dependency, 2 confirmed kills off the record. You're here because no one else wants you." His tone wasn't mocking, it was surgical. I just nodded. "Yes, sir." "Good. We don't need heroes. We need people who won't be missed." He finally turned. His eyes were pale, almost colorless. "We have 72 hours before the world changes. Don't make me regret signing your corpse in advance." Dr. Christine Voss briefed us in the control bay. Her voice could cut glass, cool, exact, detached. She wore her hair in a tight braid, lab coat unbuttoned just enough to show the scar running across her collarbone. She didn't look at us while she spoke, only at the hologram spinning above the table. 17 anomalies manifested across Yellowstone National Park within the past 20 hours. Identical wooden staircases, each between 8 and 12 steps. No support, no foundation. They appeared overnight. She zoomed in on one. The image was surreal, an old, weathered staircase jutting out of steaming geyser terrain, perfectly intact amid chaos. They are composed of pre-1950s timber, no tool marks. Radiation signatures oscillate between 0 and lethal. And they moved. That word hung in the air like a noose. At 11 p.m., drone surveillance recorded displacement. The stairs changed position, 43 meters northeast. Our sensors malfunctioned immediately afterward. Then, she tapped a key. The next frame showed a figure, blurry, elongated, glowing faint green. It stood beside the staircase, head tilted, mouth open like a scream. Dr. Voss's jaw tightened. Our thermal readings suggest it wasn't a camera glitch. In the corner, Sergeant Charles Brick Malone let out a low whistle. "Looks like my ex-wife." A ripple of nervous laughter. Even Hawk cracked half a smirk. Brick was the oldest of us, late 40s, stocky, tattoos fading under liver spots. He always had that gallows humor, the kind that smelled like whiskey and chemo pills. He'd been coughing blood for weeks, though none of us said it out loud. Henry Doc Kim sat beside him, typing quietly. Doc was calm, unreadable, his glasses reflecting the monitor glow. He was the only one who knew about my panic attacks, and he kept it between us. In another life, he could have been a priest. And then there was Rachel Kid Delaney, 22, hacker genius turned government hostage. She had the kind of brilliance that frightened people. The kind that gets you black-bagged instead of hired. When she caught me staring, she just muttered, "You blink like an error log." The mission was simple in briefing, impossible in execution. Section 2, a team, was to locate, secure, and document one of the anomalies within the next 6 hours. If no stable readings were obtained by then, Ether Dynamics would deploy napalm to sterilize the area. That was the word they used, sterilize. Dr. Voss looked at Hawk. "We have confirmation the Chinese initiative Air Sende is days from breakthrough. We either find sustainable cross-dimensional energy now, or they do." Hawk nodded. "Failure isn't an option." I don't remember breathing after that. Just the weight of the countdown. 72 hours until the summit. 72 hours to save the project. 72 hours to end the world. I found myself staring at the photo taped inside my locker. It wasn't real, just a stock image they gave me when I signed the contract. A wife, a kid, a dog, faces generated from some AI dataset. They said it was for emotional consistency. If you think someone's waiting for you, you perform better. I wanted to laugh. Instead, I ripped the photo in half and swallowed a corner of it. Paper tastes like dirt. At 0400, the alarms blared. A field team had found one of the staircases near Old Faithful, 40 miles from base. We scrambled to the loading deck, gear slamming into place, weapons checked, masks sealed. Brick elbowed me as we climbed aboard the carrier. "You ever think maybe these things just want to be left alone?" "Yeah," I said. "Us too." Kid snorted. "You two sound like a boomer podcast." Hawk's voice cut through the banter. "Lock it down. This isn't a sightseeing trip." He pulled me aside before the ramp closed. "Harper, you've seen the field longer than anyone here. If this goes sideways, I need your head clear." "Yes, sir." "And if I don't come back?" He paused, as if considering whether I was worth honesty. "Burn the stairs." The ride through the forest felt endless. Pine silhouettes flashed past under the pale dawn, steam rising from geysers like breath from the earth itself. The smell of sulfur thickened until it coated the tongue. The Geiger counter on my wrist clicked irregularly, like it couldn't decide whether to panic. Doc handed me an injector. "Anti-rad serum. Take it if it starts to burn behind your eyes." "What happens if I wait too long?" "You'll start seeing the ultraviolet spectrum. Then you'll start hearing it." I pocketed the vial. Didn't plan to use it. We reached the perimeter at 5:22. The staircase stood alone in a clearing of dead grass, framed by pillars of steam. It was wrong. Too ordinary, yet completely alien. 10 wooden steps leading nowhere, their edges glowing faintly green, like they'd been carved from decay itself. The wood pulsed when you looked too long, veins crawling beneath the grain. No birds. No wind. No sound but the distant hiss of geysers and the hum of our equipment. Dr. Voss whispered. "It's not built. It's grown." She ran a scanner over it. The readings went berserk. 0 radiation, then 1 million microsieverts. It's oscillating between reality states. Hawk drew his pistol anyway. Doesn't matter. Protocol's the same. Step by step. Rope tethers, 30-second intervals. He looked at me. "Harper, your point. You've done infiltration ops. I trust your eyes." Trust? That word again. He didn't know how bad my hands shook when I was alone. Brick lit a cigarette despite the oxygen warnings. "You think heaven's got a staircase like that?" "If it does," I said, "it probably goes the other way." Kid was recording on her visor cam, muttering code under her breath. Doc checked his gear. Dr. Voss secured the data case. Then Hawk stepped forward, his voice flat and final. "All units, ready on my mark. If I don't return in 90 seconds, burn it." He holstered his gun, gripped the railing, and started climbing. Each step creaked like it remembered pain. The air shimmered around him. At the 9th step, he froze, half-turned, mouth opening as if to speak. And then he was gone. No sound. No flash. Just absence. Dr. Voss swore softly. Brick's cigarette fell from his lips. Hawk Whitaker had vanished into thin air. I checked my tether. It felt too light. Too fragile. The rope disappeared into the same invisible place Hawk had. Dr. Voss's voice trembled for the first time. He said 90 seconds. Yeah, I said. I know. I placed my boot on the first step. The wood was warm. It was breathing. The moment my boot touched the 10th step, the world folded inward. There was no sense of falling or motion, just a noise, a pressure, like every atom in my body tried to occupy the same point at once. My lungs locked. My vision inverted, colors bleeding backward through my retinas. Then it was over. I was standing in a forest that shouldn't exist. The air was cold but not fresh. It felt filtered, like something recycled too many times. The trees were wrong, black pines, taller than skyscrapers, their bark slick like obsidian. Their branches didn't sway, they twitched, as if remembering wind. Above me, a sky stretched wide and star-choked, but there was no moon. Every constellation was slightly off, like someone had rearranged the heavens just to mock familiarity. I turned. The staircase was gone. No path, no footprint, no portal. Just a clearing filled with blue fog that hummed when I breathed near it. Hawk? No answer. My com crackled with static, a low animal growl behind the white noise. Then Kid's voice. Eli, you copy? Jesus, it's like talking through soup. I'm here. We lost visual when you hit the 9th step. Hawk never came back. We are following. Negative, I said automatically. The tether's unstable. Too late. The staircase rippled again. For silhouettes stepped through one by one, each stumbling into the clearing like newborns dropped into the wrong world. Dr. Voss went down on one knee, gasping. Doc vomited immediately. Brick just looked around and muttered, Hell's National Park, hey. Kid checked her wrist pad, no signal, no GPS, no radiation reading. Either we are underground, or we are not anywhere. We regrouped. Hawk was still missing. Dr. Voss ran diagnostics from her handheld scanner. Its screen glitched between symbols, some not even human characters. Magnetic field inversion, she whispered. Compass is spinning. Air composition, 98% nitrogen, no CO. How are we breathing this? Brick grinned weakly. Maybe we stopped breathing a while ago. Doc shot him a look. Not funny. Didn't say it was. I stared at the fog. It shimmered faint green, like radiation made tangible. Every few seconds, the Geiger counter on my wrist spiked, then dropped back to 0. The rhythm matched my pulse. That's when I noticed the tether line hanging from my harness. Clean cut. Not snapped, not melted, cut. The edge was fused smooth by a plasma blade. Someone cut my line, I said. Dr. Voss looked up sharply. What do you mean as someone? There's no one else here. Exactly. The silence afterward was heavier than the dark. We started moving east, or what we thought was east. The trees seemed to lean away from us, rearranging slightly each time we blinked. The forest floor was soft, spongy, covered with moss that hissed faintly when stepped on. After 30 minutes, the terrain shifted. The trees thinned, replaced by pillars of petrified wood that looked almost human, arms, torsos, faces half-formed in the grain. Kid's flashlight caught something ahead. A shape, standing. For a second, my heart jumped, it was a person. Then I saw the details. It was a soldier's body, or what was left of one, fused into a tree trunk. The skin had turned gray, eyes open, mouth stretched in a silent scream. The uniform patch read USAF, obsolete model. Oh my God, Kid whispered. How long's he been here? Doc bent close. No decomposition. Tissues fossilized. Dr. Voss recorded it, voice shaking for the first time. Temporal displacement confirmed. The samples predate our era by at least 50 years. Brick leaned against a tree, coughing hard. He wiped his mouth. Blood. Guess this place preserves everything. You okay? I asked. Peachy. Just my lungs reminding me they're on borrowed time. He smiled at me. There was something in his eyes, pity, or maybe resignation. We pressed on. The forest grew darker though the stars didn't fade. The light itself seemed to die before it hit the ground. I started hearing whispers. Not voices, just syllables, static shapes in the fog, like the air trying to form words it didn't understand. Sometimes it used my name. Sometimes it used my voice. You're home, Eli. No, I'm not. You are now. I turned on my radio. Kid, you hearing this? Hearing what? Never mind. At 0613 by our internal clocks, we reached a clearing. The trees parted to reveal a structure rising from the ground, a massive stairway, identical to the one we entered through, but descending instead of ascending. The steps were blackened, scorched, dripping a thick tar-like substance that hissed when it touched soil. Dr. Voss approached it cautiously, scanner trembling in her hands. Energy signatures, reversed. It's pulling heat, not emitting it. Brick crouched beside the first step. Looks like someone melted these. Doc shone his light down the descent. The beam didn't reach the bottom. How far you think that goes? Kid asks. Farther than we should follow, I said. And then the Geiger counter screamed. The needle slammed to maximum, 1 million SVTH. The air thickened. The fog glowed, pulsing green like a heartbeat. Everyone back! I shouted. But the ground had already begun to move. The moss writhed. The tar bubbled. The staircase exhaled a wave of heat so intense it turned our breath white. Then she stepped out. She was tall, taller than any human should be, at least 2 meters, maybe more. Her skin was dry, cracked, glowing faintly from beneath with the same green bioluminescence that coated the trees. Her eyes were hollow pits, sockets emitting thin beams like searchlights. Her mouth, it stretched impossibly wide, splitting her cheeks until they tore open in a permanent grin. She smiled like radiation smiles, bright, fatal, unstoppable. The irradiated matriarch. Every instinct in me screamed to fire, run, pray, anything, but my body refused. The light from her skin pinned us down like gravity itself. The Geiger counter shattered on my wrist. Doc collapsed, nose bleeding. Dr. Voss tried to record readings, but the scanner dissolved in her hands, metal liquefying into the dirt. Brick raised his rifle. You're not on the manifest, sweetheart. He fired 3 rounds. The bullets never hit. They vaporized midair, curling into spirals of smoke that she inhaled, slow and deliberate. The smell of ozone filled the clearing. She turned her head toward me, and I swear the air thinned around her smile. Her voice wasn't sound, it was vibration, crawling directly through bone. You climbed the wrong direction, child of ash. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. What are you? I managed to choke out. Her grin widened, splitting further. I am what your mother's buried beneath your son. The forest around us began to decay in real time, trees sagging, leaves turning to ash midair. The light pulsed faster, syncing with my heartbeat until I felt it inside me. Then she stepped closer. Each footfall sank into the soil like melting iron. When her hand rose, I saw the bones beneath translucent skin, fused with something crystalline, humming like a reactor core. I tried to raise my weapon. My fingers didn't respond. Don't, Doc whispered. You'll only make it worse. But she was already reaching for me. Her palm pressed flat against my chest. Pain, no, not pain. Division. Like my entire being was being copied, frame by frame, into her touch. My ribs cracked. My lungs ignited. The light poured through me, filling every nerve. Dr. Voss screamed. Kid was dragged backward by Brick as the fog flared bright enough to blind. I felt the surface of my skin crawl, stretch, tear. And something moved beneath it. Another heartbeat. Not mine. Her voice came again, right inside my skull. The seed takes root. Multiply, little echo. Then everything went white. When I opened my eyes, I was on my knees. The clearing was silent again. The matriarch was gone. But in the dirt in front of me, something twitched. A hand. My hand. Another me clawing its way out of the soil, screaming without lungs. The first clone screamed without lungs. Its mouth opened, but what came out wasn't air. It was light, green and sharp, slicing through fog. The sound followed a second later, delayed like thunder. It clawed at its own face until its fingers split. Its skin cracked in geometric patterns, each fracture glowing, pulsing in rhythm with my heart. Dr. Voss stumbled back. "It's you," she whispered. "My God, it's you." Brick raised his weapon. "Permission to shoot?" I couldn't answer. The clone was crawling toward me on broken elbows, eyes rolling white, jaw dislocating as it tried to speak. Then it did. "K, kill me." The voice was mine. Same timbre, same stutter when the throat catches on fear. I froze. The matriarch's touch still burned across my chest, 5 perfect handprints seared through my armor. Beneath them, my ribcage twitched like something was gestating. Doc's voice cut through the ringing in my ears. "We have to move, now. Radiation's peaking." But before we could, the soil convulsed. Another arm burst from the ground. Then another. 6. 12. 20. Bodies, my bodies, dragging themselves free of the dirt, screaming in unison. The sound was like feedback, pure frequency. Kid backed up, shaking uncontrollably. "It's multiplying. Jesus Christ, it's multiplying." Dr. Voss slammed her scanner shut. "Replication cycle, 30 seconds. It's exponential." By the time the first minute passed, there were 30 of me. By the second, 60. Each one less complete, some missing eyes, others fused together, some still half submerged in soil but moving anyway. They surrounded us, writhing, twitching, whispering the same 3 words over and over. "Kill me. Kill me. Kill me." Brick fired a burst into the crowd. The bullets tore through flesh and kept going, but the holes glowed instead of bleeding. The copies didn't die, they simply froze, then split into 2 smaller, shrieking versions. "Stop shooting!" I yelled. "You're making it worse." "Then what the hell do we do, Harper?" I didn't have an answer. None of us did. The matriarch was gone, but her presence still radiated from the ground like heat from a reactor. Dr. Voss tried to stabilize the portal energy with her handheld unit, but the screen displayed only one phrase. "Pattern confirmed. Human blueprint accepted." She dropped it. "We're the contagion," she said. "It's copying us now. Not the stairs. Not the forest. Us." Doc grabbed her shoulders. "Christine, breathe. We can." Something hit him from behind. A clone, half-formed, skin melting like wax, latched onto his back, jaws closing on his shoulder. He screamed as its teeth sank through armor, through flesh, until his own skin began to smoke. I pulled my knife and drove it between the clone's eyes. It dissolved instantly, leaving a spray of glowing fluid that hissed when it hit metal. Doc collapsed, clutching his wound. "It's in the bloodstream," he gasped. "Don't let it touch you." Kid was sobbing now. Brick dragged her behind him, rifle up. "Back to the tree line. Move." We ran. The forest bent around us, branches stretching like arms to block the path. The clones followed, hundreds now, crawling, limping, dragging themselves across roots. Their screams blended into one continuous wail. My body was failing. Every few steps my muscles spasmed, fibers tightening like cables about to snap. I knew what was coming. Dr. Voss was shouting coordinates that didn't exist. Doc's breathing turned to wet rattles. Kid kept glancing at me like she was waiting for me to split next. She wasn't wrong. When I looked down, the veins in my hands glowed faint green. My fingernails had begun to flake off in sheets. Beneath them, something new was growing. "Doc," I said. "How long do I have?" He coughed blood. "Depends how stubborn you are." Brick barked a laugh. "Guess you'll outlast us all." Then he stumbled, caught himself, and looked back at me. Something in his face shifted, resolve. "Hey, Marine," he said. "Tell the folks upstairs I paid my tab." Before I could stop him, he pulled the grenade pin from his vest, yanked the spare fuel can from his pack, and poured it over himself. "Brick, no!" He gave me that crooked smile. "I'm dying anyway. Might as well take a few of your ugly brothers with me." Then he lit the match. The fire roared blue, not orange. Radiation flame. The clones swarmed him, drawn to the heat, screaming as they burned. The explosion that followed tore through the clearing like a storm of glass and light. When the dust settled, there was nothing left of Brick but ash, ash that still pulsed faintly, trying to crawl. Dr. Voss dragged me to my feet. "We have to keep moving. That blast won't stop them." "Where?" She pointed upward. Beyond the canopy, a single tree rose higher than the rest, massive, skeletal, branches twisting into the sky like ribs. At its peak, a glow flickered, warm and gold, the only non-green light in this hell. "That," she said. "That's our exit." Kid stared at it. "You're out of your mind. It's 200 meters high. Then start climbing." The ascent was a nightmare. The bark of the giant tree was warm, pulsing, almost alive. Every handhold throbbed like a heartbeat. Sometimes the surface opened under our fingers, revealing bone or muscle beneath the wood. Halfway up, Doc slipped. His harness tore, spilling him into the swarm of clones below. They reached him before he hit the ground. He didn't scream long. I kept climbing. One arm, then the other. Mechanical. Marine instinct. Don't think. Don't look down. Just move. Every few meters, a new layer of clones erupted from the roots, some still forming, others already decaying. Their voices blended into static. The air itself vibrated, filled with whispers of all the people I'd ever been. At around the 100th meter, Dr. Voss stopped. "Eli, listen." Her voice was thin, strangled. She pointed below us. Among the clones, one stood perfectly still, taller, sharper. Wearing Hawk's armor. He looked up at us. His face was mine and his, both at once. "Captain?" I whispered. Dr. Vossi's mouth trembled. "That's impossible." The clone hawk spoke. "It's not impossible. It's protocol." His voice carried effortlessly through the air, calm, deliberate. "They told me if I gave them coordinates, they'd release my family. I cut the line, Eli. I left you here to feed the pattern. You son of a bitch. Don't waste your anger. We are all copies now." He raised his weapon, not to fire, but to salute. Mission complete. Then the forest swallowed him, the clones converging and absorbing him like mud. Dr. Voss didn't speak again. She just climbed faster, breath ragged. By the time we reached the 113th branch, the glow above had turned blinding. It wasn't sunlight, it was the portal. A vertical slit in the air, shimmering gold, vibrating at a frequency I could feel in my teeth. The wood beneath us began to dissolve. The tree was dying, or maybe birthing. "Go!" I shouted. "Now!" Dr. Voss tried to leap for the light. Her hand brushed it, then she vanished, atomized in a flash of static. I was alone. The clones were climbing after me now, hundreds of them, stacked like a living staircase of flesh. each face mine. Each one whispering, "You are the root. You are the seed." I stepped on the nearest skull, then the next, and the next, climbing on my own dead faces toward the gate. Each step crunched wetly, bones giving under my boots. Their hands clawed at me, tearing chunks of my leg. I didn't stop. Pain was just data now. When I reached the light, I turned once. The forest below was gone. In its place stretched a plain of skin, pulsing and endless. The clones had merged into one vast surface, a landscape of my own flesh, breathing. At its center, the matriarch stood, head tilted upward, her mouth opening wider than ever. "Ascend, child," she whispered. "And carry me with you." I dove into the light. There was no falling this time, only impact. Daylight. Real, burning daylight. I was in a field of gray ash. The sky above was blue, impossibly blue. Around me lay hundreds of stone statues, each one of me, frozen mid-scream. My leg was gone. I don't remember losing it. The stump had been cauterized clean. Dr. Voss, Doc, Brick, Kid, gone. Only silence. Only the sound of the wind over Yellowstone. I laughed once, dry and hollow. Then I passed out. When I woke, I was in a lab, bright white, sterile. Men in ether uniforms stood behind glass, taking notes. One of them was Hawk. The real Hawk. Or maybe just another copy. They didn't speak to me. They just recorded. When the saw touched my leg, I didn't resist. Part 2 - The Fallout Zone. I woke to the hiss of filtered air. The ceiling above me was smooth, white, and curved, like the inside of an eggshell. Light pulsed behind it, slow and steady, synchronized with the rhythm of my own breathing. For a long moment I didn't move. I wasn't sure I could. My limbs felt distant, wrapped in static. I counted the seconds, marine style, just to remind myself that time still worked. When the intercom cracked alive, the voice was calm, female, and without accent. Subject E. Harper. Cognitive function, irresponsive. The word subject sliced through the fog. I tried to speak, but my throat refused. The air tasted like antiseptic and plastic. I shifted enough to see my surroundings. The room wasn't much larger than a hospital bay, glass panels on every side. Beyond them, more rooms, each identical. White figures moved past, gloved and silent, tablets glowing blue in their hands. A man in a containment suit leaned close to the glass. The visor reflected my own face back at me. I looked older, hair shorn to stubble, skin sallow, eyes ringed by sleepless weeks. "Do you remember your name?" he asked through a speaker. "Eli Harper," I said, the words cracking like old paper. "Section 2, Project Ladder." He nodded slightly, as if confirming an inventory line. "You were recovered at Grid F9, Yellowstone Perimeter. Exposure level, extreme. You're safe now." The phrase safe now carried the same weight as containment achieved. I tried to sit, and pain pulsed somewhere deep, enough to stop me halfway. A band of synthetic fabric crossed my chest, tethering me to the bed. "Where's my team?" I asked. The man hesitated. "Debrief will come later." Then he left, boots whispering on the clean floor. Time blurred. The lights dimmed and brightened, simulating days, though I never saw the sun. Meals appeared through a sealed slot, instruments hummed beyond the walls. I spoke to no one for what might have been weeks. At first, I thought the quiet was mercy. Then I began to hear the other noises. Whispers under the hum, short, clipped phrases, repeating my name. Sometimes laughter, faint and wrong. Sometimes breathing that wasn't mine, echoing a half-second behind. I started pressing my ear to the wall. On the third day, I realized there were other chambers nearby, occupied. When the vents cycled, the sound carried, muffled but human. "Help me. Can't move. Please." Voices. Some familiar. One even sounded like Hawk. I hit the glass until my palms burned. No answer. The doctors, or whatever they were, eventually returned. 2 of them, and the same suited man from before. He introduced himself as Director Shaw from Ether Dynamics, though he said it like the title mattered more than the name. "You're stabilizing," he said. "That's good. We need data from someone who survived the exposure." "What exposure?" "The phenomenon at Yellowstone. You encountered something anomalous." I stared at him. "You mean her?" His visor didn't move, but I knew he frowned behind it. "You recall a figure?" "I recall the thing you built a doorway for. The one that didn't want to stay on its side." Shaw made a note on his tablet. "Fascinating." The others reported visual distortions, none coherent. "The others?" He ignored the question. "You said her." "Why?" "Because I still heard her. Because in every silence between the hum of machines, there was a faint pulse matching mine, a second heartbeat just out of sync. But I didn't tell him that." "Instinct," I said. He watched me longer than necessary, then gestured to his assistants. "Continue observation. We're increasing the isolation interval." And just like that, I was alone again. Days, maybe months, slipped through the cracks. I began keeping time by the blinking red light of the ceiling monitor, 3 blinks per second. When the power cycled, it would stall for half a breath, and in that stillness, I felt her presence most strongly. It wasn't a voice, not really. More like a pull, something stretching between us. My thoughts drifted toward her, unbidden, images of forest canopies under alien stars, the smell of scorched pine, the sound of splitting wood. Each time I tried to push the memories away, new ones replaced them. Moments that weren't mine, strangers walking through snow, scientists watching screens, a child crying in the distance. It was as if she had threaded my mind into a wider web, showing me what the others saw. I told myself it was trauma, or hallucination. But one night, the intercom spoke before the lights rose. "Eli." A single word, soft and familiar, but layered, like many voices speaking through the same mouth. "They think you're alone." I sat upright, heart hammering. "Who is this?" Silence. Then the faint crackle of the comm line dying. When Shaw came in later, I asked who accessed the system. He frowned. No one did. The first breach happened soon after. An alarm cut through the facility, deep, mechanical, unhurried. The walls flashed amber. I saw people running beyond the glass, their suits smeared with something dark. A door sealed shut at the far corridor, trapping 2 of them inside. They pounded on the glass until the room filled with mist. Then the pounding stopped. The mist cleared a minute later. Both figures were gone. The floor was perfectly clean. The next day, the vents in my room were shut. I could barely breathe. The intercom said it was temporary containment optimization. By the second day, condensation ran down the walls. When I wiped it away, a pattern formed, tiny streaks converging into shapes. Letters. "We are here." I stared at the words until they vanished. Shaw visited again, his tone sharpened by exhaustion. "Mr. Harper, have you been communicating with external subjects?" "I don't have access to anything." "Then explain the irregularities in your neural scans." "I can't." He leaned closer to the glass. "You brought something back. Maybe it's residual radiation. Maybe it's cognitive contagion. Either way, it's spreading. Then why keep me alive?" "Because you're the only one still stable." The lights flickered as he said it, dimming to gray. For an instant I saw his reflection multiply, 2, 3, 5 of him in the glass. Then only one. He didn't notice. That night, the facility went silent again. The hum stopped. I woke to the faint rhythm of boots approaching, then the click of my door releasing. A figure stepped in, not wearing a suit this time. Just standard fatigues. For a second I thought it was Brick, same build, same scar under the jawline. "Easy, Eli," he said. We're getting you out. I didn't move. Brick's dead. He smiled sadly. Yeah. Guess I am. The lights flooded. His outline wavered, like heat over asphalt. I saw through him, to the other rooms, the other Eli Harpers standing at their glass walls, watching. The copies didn't blink. I blinked, and he was gone. When the power came back, my restraints were open. I left the bed, knees weak, palms trembling against the cold floor. Every corridor looked identical, white, silver, sterile, but I knew the way, guided by instinct that wasn't mine. Down 3 halls, through an unmarked door, into a chamber lined with observation pods. Inside each, someone who looked like me. Some sleeping, some awake. All breathing in perfect unison. I stepped closer. The nearest one's eyes opened. They don't understand, he said, my own voice. We're not the infection. We're the seeds. Before I could answer, the alarm sounded again, sharper this time. Red light blurred across the walls. A siren's pulse shook the floor. Containment breach, level 7. All personnel evacuate. The pod glass split with a long, slow crack. Air hissed out. The copies began to move. I ran. Past the empty labs, past the sealed checkpoints. Every corridor echoed with my own footsteps doubled. Somewhere behind me, someone, something, laughed softly, like a mother soothing a child. The exit door loomed ahead, sealed by a biometric panel. I slammed my palm onto it. It scanned, beeped once, then flashed green. Outside was daylight, or what passed for it. A sky the color of ash, trees petrified mid-motion, their trunks etched with strange runes. The air shimmered faintly, as if reality itself had been scorched. I turned toward the horizon. Steam rose from the distant caldera. Drones circled overhead, releasing trails of gray mist that sank slowly to the ground. Containment, I realized. I could feel her there, beneath the earth, beneath me, whispering through the heat of the soil. You left too soon, Eli. They are all awake now. My chest tightened. I didn't know whether to run or kneel. Somewhere in the static wind, the Geiger counter rhythm began again, soft, rising, alive. I started walking anyway, toward the trees that weren't quite trees anymore. I haven't seen another human face since. The air still hums, the sky still flickers. Sometimes, when I stop to rest, I hear breathing close behind me, steady, synchronized, patient. I know what it means. They didn't build a door. They built a mirror. And the reflection decided it was tired of waiting. I've been walking for 2 days, maybe more. The sky over Yellowstone never clears now, it glows faintly, like clouded glass lit from beneath. Every hour the ground trembles, as if something below is breathing. The suit I stole from the outpost keeps the wind off, but not the silence. It's the kind that follows disaster, the hush after an explosion when the world hasn't decided if it survived. No animals. No engines. Just the low electrical hum that rides the air, steady as a heartbeat. I found a working radio in a crashed recon drone this morning. The feed loops emergency channels. This is FEMA command. Yellowstone perimeter remains sealed. All civilian traffic diverted east of Cody. Multiple echo sightings near the park boundary. Do not engage, repeat, do not engage. Possible atmospheric vector. Advised total isolation. Then static. Always static. Sometimes, between bursts, I hear my own voice repeating fragments of older transmissions, my words from the mission briefing, distorted and overlapping. The first time it happened I threw the radio into the creek. It floated back an hour later, still whispering. There are traces of people, boot prints turned to ash, trucks abandoned mid-road, screens left running on infinite warning loops. I passed checkpoints where containment suits hang empty, swaying in the wind as if the wearers stepped out for a moment and forgot to return. The further I go, the more the forest resembles something sketched from memory, trees too tall, shadows bending in wrong directions. At night, lights move through them, slow, deliberate, human-shaped. Sometimes they call my name. By the third day, I reach a ridge overlooking the old geothermal station. It's burning without flame, just a steady column of white vapor. Drones orbit it like flies. My counter shows normal radiation, but the air tastes metallic. I can feel the hum inside my teeth. Then the whisper starts again, faint, layered, female and not female. You are not alone, Eli. I tell myself it's feedback from the radio. I switch it off. The whisper continues anyway. They thought they could measure me. They thought I was an equation. I grip the rifle I don't remember picking up. What do you want? To finish what you began. Her tone isn't angry. It's almost tender, like a teacher addressing a student who's finally catching up. Every signal needs a transmitter. And then the voice fades, replaced by the faint clicking of the Geiger counter, slow and patient. That night, I see the first Echo team. 5 figures move across the clearing below, each carrying a light. At first I think they're soldiers. Then I notice the way they walk, synchronized, each step perfectly matched. The one in front turns his head toward me. Even at that distance I recognize my own face. He lifts a hand, not in threat but in greeting. The rest mirror him. Then they move on, disappearing into the haze. I stay awake until dawn. On the 4th day, I reach an abandoned comms tower. The structure still hums, emergency power cycling through cracked solar cells. Inside, a single terminal blinks a waiting cursor. I patch the radio into it, realign the dish by hand, and for the first time since the facility I hear a human voice that isn't mine. Global Energy Summit suspended. Ether dynamics under federal seizure. Multiple containment failures reported in continental sectors. Repeat, this is not a drill. Yellowstone quarantine expanded. Visual confirmation of secondary stair formations. The line cuts out. Secondary formations. More stairs. I stare at the static, and for a heartbeat I almost laugh. We didn't seal anything. We planted it. I start recording because silence is worse. If anyone's listening, this is Sergeant Elliot Harper, Section 2, Project Ladder. I'm alive. At least, I think I am. The phenomenon has breached containment. You need to shut down all ether protocols immediately, burn everything. Do not send recovery teams. The transmitter hums under my hand, warm like skin. I feel the pulse through the metal, steady, maternal. Keep talking, Eli. They need to hear. I ignore her. Whatever you see out there, staircases, structures, reflections that move on their own, don't approach. Don't document. Don't even look too long. The console flickers. For an instant the waveform on the screen splits, mirroring itself. My voice continues without me, repeating every word half a second behind. Don't approach. Don't document. Don't. I slam the switch, but the echo keeps going. I go outside. The wind carries a fine white dust that glows in the dark. When it lands on my gloves, it forms branching patterns, tiny fractals like nerve endings. They twitch toward the warmth of my skin before dissolving. Across the valley, new staircases rise through the mist, dozens, maybe hundreds, wooden, perfect, ascending into nothing. Each one vibrates slightly, as if tuned to a frequency only the earth can hear. The radio hisses again. Eli, can you see them? It's her, but softer now, almost within me. You built the bridge. Now cross it. The world blurs at the edges. For a moment, I'm back under the forest canopy, surrounded by infinite versions of myself, all looking upward. Their eyes glow the same dull green as the sky. I blink, and I'm standing on the first step of the nearest staircase. No sound. No wind. Just the heartbeat hum, constant and welcoming. Come home. I take one step, then another. Each board vibrates, alive. Halfway up, I stop. The air smells of ozone and rain. I raise the transmitter mic to my mouth. If you can still hear me, This is Elliot Harper. Project Ladder has failed. Containment is impossible. My voice trembles, but I keep it steady. If you see a wooden staircase in the woods, 10 steps, no railing, turn around. Don't look up. Don't take pictures. Burn it, if you can. I pause. The hum grows louder, almost a chorus now, thousands of heartbeats aligned. And pray you're not already part of it. The sky flashes once, green-white, and the signal cuts to static.